tag this as beginner. Okay. Happy Monday. I usually don't see everybody on Mondays, but I'm very excited to be doing right here. There we go. Very excited to be doing a prenatal, postnatal, scoliosis friendly, diastasis friendly, beginner, kind of all encompassing 30 minutes. It by no means will be easy. So when I say beginner, it's about kind of tapping into your abdominals in a way where we're keeping your spine nice and straight. We're not going to add too much mobility in terms of twisting. So in case anybody is joining that has a spinal fusion, this is a great chance for you to kind of get in some of these moves. Also feeling where you can pull back on some of the twisting but still get all of the benefits of this type of movement. Prenatal, postnatal, we're going to be doing some things laying on your side. If you're very far into your pregnancy and you find it uncomfortable to lay in a certain way, you can add like an extra little pillow. You can add, if you don't have a ball, also make sure you have a pillow, because we do need a little prop to prop yourself up, to protect your head. It's going to be fun. I'm super excited. It's the first time, live that we've done something that hasn't been just kind of a general, all-encompassing format of Be the Method. So this will be very specific. Does anybody have any quick questions that you want to talk through, or should we just get started? I would love to keep doing some of these kind of specialized little series, like 30 minutes, 15 minutes, all of that. This will also all be on the app in terms of these types of formats, like the 15 minutes, the 30 minutes, the diastasis friendly, all of these things. So we're going to tap in very deeply. I want you to remind yourself that we're connecting into the core. Let's get started. Let's move on. It's 11:31. I'm going to talk you through the whole thing and just really remind yourself, if you are pregnant, if you have diastasis, scoliosis, any of these things that I kind of mentioned that will be specifically for today, make sure you're listening to your body first. So if something does not feel comfortable, make sure that you just take a moment to listen to your body. Try not to power through. This is going to be very friendly on the body, so you can always take a moment just to chill. So let's get started. Okay, this is going to be 30 minutes, friendly for all bodies, very specific for prenatal, postnatal. So let's take your feet out wide. You're going to find yourself kind of planted your heels kind of on the outside of your mat. I'm kind of framing my mat here. I'm going to bend my knees very softly and then take the ball in front of my body and give it a little squeeze. So I'm just going to hinge forward very slightly. It's a very tiny hinge here, starting to connect into the abdominals. We're going to start some breathing here. So your knees are very slightly bent. You're going to inhale as you press your arms out. Exhale as you pull it back in. So we're just pressing your arms out and exhale. So just squeezing the ball, we're intentionally moving your arms in space. Your knees are very soft but in parallel here. Reaching it out and in. So you can find your stance here. You're going to pull your weight slightly over to your heels, making sure that you're not too far forward onto your toes. And let's do one more. And then you're going to reach your arms out. You're going to turn your elbows facing inward. Start to bend your elbows in. You're drawing the ball in towards your core and pressing it out. So your range of motion might be big, it might be small, depending on how pregnant you are or where your body is feeling it today. So we're going to bend the elbow in, reaching it out. Keeping the abdominals in here. A very slight forward hinge. So we're not very aggressively forward hinged here. We're kind of just like slightly bending the knee, a little mini forward hinge. And let's do a few more here. And one more. And now we're going to reach your arms out. I want you to bend the knees just a little bit more. You're pulling your hips down to the floor, straightening your legs very softly. So we're doing tiny, tiny dips here. You're lifting up through the abdominals, starting to feel your pelvic floor in this move. Very tiny dip. Also, if you find the arms uncomfortable here, you can bend the elbows in. We can hold the position here. Very tiny. So you're dropping the shoulders, tiny, tiny pulses, warming up the hips, warming up the glutes, warming up the abdominals. Finding strength in this slight forward hinge. And let's do a couple more here. And one more. Good. And let's stack your legs all the way up tall. So you're lifting up through the abdominals, and then you're going to rotate your toes outwards. So your heels are facing in. You're going to bend your knees slightly again here, and then shifting forward. So like your weight is shifting forward just very slightly as your hips pull backwards. The same type of position with an externally rotated hip. And you're going to stretch your arms out, bend it in. So you're stretching it out, bend it in, keeping the core engaged, reaching out, intentionally moving your arms through space, and then in. Stretching it out, and in. So feeling your abdominals controlling your arms here too, and then exhaling. Let's do 2 more here. So trying to externally rotate from your hips. Try not to just open up the knees. It's coming from the hips, and we're going to bend your elbows in, pull the ball in towards your body, stretching it out. And out. Keeping your breathing going. Intentionally moving here, feeling your triceps connecting here, feeling your pecs squeeze the ball. A very slight bend, you'll feel inner thighs, pelvic floor, you should feel glutes, you'll feel a little bit of quads. Probably will feel a very full body here. And then 1 more. You can either stretch your arms out or bend your elbows here. We're going to do tiny dips and a tiny lift. So I'm not straightening my legs all the way, I'm not bending my knees all the way. It's very tiny here. I'm trying to guide myself through the pelvic floor. I'm trying to lead from the throat, the low abdominals. Very tiny. And lift. Keep the abdominals in. Keep stretching through the arms. Let's do a few more here. And then bend and hold. We're just going to drop the ball down towards your pelvis. Start to reach it up in line with your shoulders. So we're trying to squeeze the ball, really moving the shoulders here. Moving the arms, kind of keeping the shoulders back. Trying to connect behind the shoulders. We're connecting into the lats. We're using your abdominals to strengthen this movement here. Drop it down and lift. And let's do a few more here. And 1 more. And then let's stretch your legs all the way up. Let's slowly start to walk your feet in. You're going to take the ball between your knees. So you're going to give this a slight squeeze. Your heels are underneath your hips. And then I want you to stack all the way up tall, lifting up through the abdominals. You're going to bend your knees slightly and then pull your hips backwards. So the same very slight forward hinge here. We're going to start to reach your arms out in front of you, taking your arms back, opening up the chest. So we're going to start to move the arms here, trying to find your balance, reminding yourself you're creating some heat inside of your body, but still keeping your body directly in the center and controlled evenly on both sides. And back. So keeping the core engaged, stretching through the arms, and back. So depending on where your weight, if you have weight in your stomach that's pulling you forward, you want to shift your weight back slightly onto your heels, pulling the core in. And let's do a few more here. And 1 more. And taking your arms back behind you, just start to do very tiny pulses up. Also, if at any point your back starts to hurt, like your lower back starts to hurt, you can add a mini tuck in the pelvis here, just to protect your low abdominals. You can find that position. Ideally, we want to get into neutral, but if you're feeling any sort of lower back pain, that's where you're going to add a little mini tuck. Very tiny pulses up. So you're thinking length in your neck. Try not to grip in the neck. You can shake it around a couple times, pull the core in, holding your arms up, start to bend the elbows, pressing it back. Very tiny. So the movements are small here and very controlled, but we're still engaging the full body. So I want you to squeeze the ball from your inner thighs, pressing the hands out. And let's do a few more here. And 1 more. Reaching the hands forward. Let's start to press your arms up. We're going to stack yourself all the way up tall, lifting up through the chest, taking your arms slightly behind your body, but not arching the spine, reaching the hands out. So we can play around with how far you bend your knees here. You're pulling in the core, you're tapping into the glutes, opening up the chest. And keep breathing through this. You can inhale as your arms reach out. Exhale, you can press it up. Let's do 2 more. And up. And 1 more. And up. And then we're going to slowly make our way onto our hands and knees. So you can remove the ball and slowly make your way here. We're going to flatten the feet and taking your hands directly underneath your shoulders. So we're going to play around with some abdominal lifts here. I want you to lift all the way up. You're going to relax your abdominals all the way down, and then you're going to pull the abdominals in up to the ceiling. So you're not going to have any movement in the body. You're just going to relax the abdominals and then pull it in and up. So if you can see, I'll turn very slightly sideways. You're just kind of like letting your stomach go, but keeping your spine straight, and then you're zipping it in and up, actively pulling in the core. And just relax it down, and then actively pulling it in and up. And let's do one more here. So just starting to connect the abdominals in a different position here. Let's do one more. And lift it up and hold. And we're going to bend your elbows very slightly into your side. Your chest goes down to the floor, pushing up from the palms here. So you're bending it down, pushing it up, keeping the ball squeezed, keeping the abdominals in. Very tiny here. You want to equalize the weight on your arms and your abdominals. And let's do two more. And then one more. And then you're going to reach your hands slightly forward here. I want you to shift your weight backwards. So you're pulling your core in here, and then we're going to shift forward so that you're in a little bit of a modified plank, and you can keep your feet flat. So you're going to pull your abdominals in. We're shifting backwards here. And then we're shifting forwards, we're pulling your shoulders back, making sure that your abdominals stay in and up. If at any point you feel like you're too far forward and your abdominals are popping out or you're coning from diastasis, pull it back a little bit more. So we're not going to make it very big here. Pull the core in and back. And let's do a few more here. So shifting forward, squeezing the ball, connecting into the pelvic floor, and forward. And one more, and we're going to play around with this modified plank here. So you're going to keep your abdominals in. You can pop your hips up very slightly, and then you're going to bend your elbows down, pushing out from the palms. So your feet are flat, your abdominals stay in, really lifting up through the core, trying to engage your obliques and your transverse abdominis, that wrapping corset muscle. And let's do two more. And one more. And now we're going to shift backwards slightly, stretching out through your palms, pulling the core in. Let's start to shift forward back into that plank, pulling the abdominals in. So you're listening to your body by pulling the shoulders back, finding that point where you're feeling like my abdominals are connecting me. I'm staying very controlled in the movement. I have no imbalances here. So you always want to be able to be stabilized. You can make it bigger, you can make it slightly smaller. And then one more. We're going to pull yourself forward into that modified plank position as you start to walk your fingers inwards. We're making a triangle shape. You can either pull your hips forward if you feel strong enough, or you can take your hips slightly back here. Start to bend your elbows wide, pushing through the palms and lift. So keeping the abdominals in a tiny bend here, and lift. Very tiny. Keeping the core engaged. Shoulders are back. Let's do two more, and one more. And then reaching your hands back. Let's pull in the abdominals here, stretching out through your arms. We're going to go back into that modified plank. Shoulders are back and forward. You can feel how this is a lot of abdominals, this is a lot of arm. I want you to remind yourself the inner thighs are squeezing that ball for a reason, connecting into the pelvic floor, connecting your full body in this position. Let's do one more. And then all the way back. Okay. We're going to grab onto the ball and flip your feet around so that your feet are at the front of the mat. So we're going to take your feet in line with your hips, and we're going to take the ball behind your lower back here. So if you're very pregnant, I want you to use some arm stability here. If you're kind of repairing some diastasis, or you're postnatal or prenatal but not too far along, you can kind of follow this position here. But we're going to all start with your hands underneath your knees, lifting up out of the chest, the ball or the pillow is behind your back here. We're going to scoop and round back into the pillow, very small here, and lift up in the chest. So we're going to kind of go into a nice flexion where you're tucking the pelvis, pressing into the ball, and then lifting up. We're not arching the spine, but we're controlling this through the core. So just very tiny movements here. And lift. Very tiny. Pull in the core here. Your knees are slightly apart, but they're still squeezing together. You're engaging the inner thighs. Rounding it back. And lift. And let's do one more. And lift. And we're just going to be lightly up off the ball. You can also put a little bit more weight into the ball if you feel like that feels more stable. Keeping the core engaged, you're going to stretch out through one arm and then drop it down. And let's stretch out through that opposite arm. Drop it down. So we're going to play around with one arm at a time. As you start to feel yourself getting a little bit stronger and more comfortable in this position, we can do it without hanging on underneath your knees. If you feel like this feels okay, just very tiny movements here. Or you can grab on here, stretch it out. You can also play around with just holding here, just dropping one down and lift. So just trying to connect into the center of your body. You're going to grab on underneath your knees again, scoop and press your abdominals back into the ball, lift up into the chest. So you're going to scoop and roll it back and lift. And let's do one more. And lift, good. And then let's stretch one arm out at a time. And we're going to hold this position here. We're just going to do tiny open of the arm, pull the arm back in. So you're opening your arms out, squeezing them back in. You can also take it here, squeeze, drop it down. So we can play around with this move also. You're not going to add a rotation of the spine. We're keeping your chest facing forward towards your knees. Lift, open. And then you're going to reach the arms out. Let's do a few here. And one more. And if you're feeling nice and strong, we're going to lower down here without the arms underneath the knees, or you can take the hands back underneath the knees. But you're going to do tiny lifts here. Very tiny. And let's do 3 more. And 2 more. And 1 more. And we're going to lift up. Take your butterfly stretch for a second. We're going to lift up out of the chest. You can just kind of hinge forward very slightly. Just kind of butterfly your legs here. We're going to get back into that position, but we always want to give you a moment to stretch out through your lower back. And then taking the ball back behind here. Let's take your heels together, knees are apart, and we're going to reach your hands back, and you're going to take them kind of in a wide stance here. So we're not going to be sinking down into the shoulders, but you're going to be lifting up through here. Slowly kind of like pressing down onto the ball, keeping your abdominals in. We're going to lift one leg up at a time, drop it down, and let's lift. So tiny marching here with your hips externally rotated, keeping the abdominals in, trying to like really zip up nice and tight here to protect your back. You can play around with your arm position. You can take them slightly back if you want to open up your chest a little bit. You can take them out to the side if you feel like you need just a little bit more of a base. And let's do 1 here. And then 1 more on each side. And then last one. And then we're going to hold here, just start to squeeze the knees together, open the knees out. So we're zipping up through the inner thighs, working the low abdominals, stretching out through the arms. So still kind of in this slight hinge backwards. If at any point your lower back hurts here, also this is where you can kind of like tuck very slightly here. Protect your lower back. And let's do 3 more. And 2 more. And 1 more. Squeezing the knees together, but then separating your feet so that they're about hip distance apart. We're going to lift 1 leg up at a time here. Just slight marching. You can also find, if you need a little bit more space, you can take your heels slightly further away from your body. You can also take them slightly in towards your body here. And lift. Very tiny. Also keeping your chin into your chest, trying not to aggravate your neck. The next piece is laying all the way down to fully protect your neck. So if it's hurting at all right now, we'll work through some of that. And then lift it up. And let's do 1 more on each side. And last one. Good. And let's lift up through here, grabbing onto your ball. Let's take a little bit of a butterfly stretch. Also, you can slide your arms out. You can take whatever stretch you need to, but I want you to make sure that your forward flexion of your spine is happening here, so we add a little bit of this mobility in this position here. And then we're going to lay down onto your side, and we're going to use the ball as a pillow. So I'm going to start on this side. The ball is going to go kind of right in the kind of, side nape of your neck. You're going to lay down, you're going to treat it like a pillow. Your bottom arm is going to extend out, and you're going to reach your hand forward. So you're going to kind of stretch it out through here. Your hips, shoulders, and head are all in one straight line. Your abdominals are going to try to lift up. So we don't want to just fully sink into the floor. We want to feel your abdominals pull in and up here. This top arm can either go on your hip, or it can just go in front of you and just hold onto the floor for some extra stability. I'm going to take mine up to my hip, and you're going to start to open up this top knee and drop it down. So your spine is staying flat here. Your abdominals are staying in and up, and we're just starting to open that knee. Drop it down. And let's open. So we're controlling this movement from the core, also equally connecting into the glute. Play around with this arm too, you can just take it here. And then checking in to make sure that you're not trying to lift your head up off the ball, really pressing your head into the ball, treating this like a pillow, laying onto your side. Lift it up and down. And let's do a few more here. How are we feeling? It's like a very comfortable position, yet it'll start to really work this whole area, get into this hip. We want to have really nice, strong hips, but they allow them to stretch and strengthen too. And one more. And now we're going to lift your leg up. So we're going to kind of lift it up slightly in one plane. You're going to hover the leg up and drop it down. And we're going to lift it up through here. Drop it down. So we're trying to find this outer leg, lifting it up, really connecting into the core. And let's do 3 more. And 2 more. And then 1 more. We're going to lift up and hold. We're going to start to stretch this leg out, and you're going to take it slightly in front of you. So it's not going to be in one straight line. It's going to be slightly in front of you here. So almost at a diagonal towards this bottom knee. And we're going to do tiny pulses up with this leg. So very tiny. If anything, we're trying to almost internally rotate this leg rather than externally rotate here. So we want to either keep it parallel or flip your toe down to the floor. Very tiny. Keeping the abdominals in. Allowing your head to really press down onto that ball. And let's keep going here. It's by no means easy. It's very targeted into the glute. You'll feel it very deeply kind of in the side leg and glute. Just remind yourself that your abdominals are pulling in and up. And let's do 2 more. And then bend the knee in here. We can tap on the hip slightly. Just get a little bit of a tap here. And then you're going to reach both hands out in front of you here. So one arm might be a little bit further. We're going to try to stack the shoulders up a little bit here. So stretching out through that top arm. Pulling the core in. We're just going to reach this top arm up to the ceiling. And then drop it down. So your range of motion might be different here. If it feels like you're starting to arch your back, make sure that you're not opening it up too much. So just very slightly drop it down. And let's do a few more here. And 1 more. And then we're going to take this arm up over your head here. You're going to reach it out. And then you can take it kind of down towards your hip. So we're going to keep it parallel to the floor, stretch it out, up over your head, keeping the abdominals in, over towards your hip. So now we're trying to stabilize here, keeping your hips in line with your shoulders. And back. And let's do 2 more. All the way up. And back. 1 more. Up here. And back. And then we can drop this arm down. We're going to open up this knee, and you're going to hover this leg up. We're going to tap the toe, and then internally tap the knee. And let's go toe and knee. Keeping your abdominals in. One thing that I like to do also is grab onto my lower part of my abdominals that's down to the floor. I almost feel like you're lifting it up as a reminder. Let's go tap and tap. Tap. Relaxing the shoulders. Let's do 3 more. 2 more. And tap. 1 more. And tap. And you can squeeze your knees together. Let's slowly start to get up through here. We're going to take one leg in front. If you can, you can kind of go in this position. You can take your leg slightly in front, bend it forward. If you have a little bit more space and a little bit more ability, you can pull this knee in here and give it a little lift. You can tap on that hip. And then we're going to go over to the other side. And let's lay down here. So let's take the ball right underneath your head. We're trying to stack the shoulders on top, stretching out through this front arm here. Taking your hip and your shoulders and your head in one straight line. Taking this hand either on your hip or in front of you, wherever you feel most comfortable here, but lifting up through the core. We're going to start to open up this top knee and then drop it down, really pressing your head into the ball here, lifting it up and drop it down. So this is a really great position to keep your spine nice and straight, your abdominals stay in and up. It's protecting the core here too, but still being able to work the legs. Lift, drop it down. It's very tiny. Kind of is a nice peaceful position also with your head on the ball, so it like feels very comfortable here. You can also use a pillow if you'd rather have a pillow under there. Lift, drop it down. Let's do 2 more. And 1 more. And then you're going to start to lift the knee and the heel in one straight plane. So we're going to lift up through here, drop it down. So let's lift it up, drop it down. And you're also keeping this hip parallel, so we don't want to externally rotate too far. We're just kind of lifting up from the side glute, still engaging on the way down, so you're working in 2 different directions here. Drop it down and lift. And let's do 3 more here. Abdominals in, 2 more. And 1 more. And you're going to extend this leg out. Take that leg slightly in front of you here. So now you're still pulling in the core and your hips are still stacked. You're going to do tiny lifts of this leg. Very tiny. Reminding yourself that you're either in parallel or you can internally rotate slightly and really get behind the glute. Tiny lift. And lift. Very small here. And let's do a few more. And last one. And then bend the knee in here, checking in with your shoulders. You can turn this bottom hand facing upwards here. Stretching out through that top arm. Pulling in the core first, so as you reach this arm out, you're like zipping up the core behind you. Start to open this arm up to the ceiling. And drop it down. So we're opening it up here. And drop it down. Also trying to check to see that your hips aren't rotated forward. You're trying to still keep them in one straight line. Find your range of motion here where you feel like you're stabilized and not going to rock forward or back. And 1 more. And then we're going to slide this arm up and over your head. So you're going to stretch it out through here, taking the hand over towards your hip. Reaching it out, up and over your head. And then back here. So all the way up, stretching through that arm. And back. Let's do 2 more. So keeping that arm parallel to the floor, checking in with your neck again, making sure that your head is on that ball. 1 more. And then dropping this hand down, and we're going to hover your leg up. We're going to tap the knees, internally rotating, then tap the toe here. So keeping the core engaged, keeping yourself lifted. And let's go tap. And tap. And tap. And let's do 3 more. Keep breathing here, 2 more. And in. And last one. And then drop it down. And let's lift yourself up off the ball. You can take this leg slightly in front of you if you can find a place to stretch here, whether it's wide or whether it's a little bit tighter. You can lift in and up and tap on that hip, tap on that glute. How are we feeling? Are we feeling good? It's like a nice beginner types of movements here, but still very, very engaged and very deep inside of your body. So I want you to remind yourself that every muscle is working here. You're going to take your hands backwards. I want you to give yourself a little bit of space here. So you're going to walk your feet forward to the front. I have quite a bit of space between my heels and my glutes. I'm squeezing the ball. My hands are slightly behind me here. I'm going to lift up out of the abdominals. I want you to round back in the core as you start to bend the elbows. So you're going to round into here. And let's press through the arms. You're just going to lift up in the chest very slightly. So still squeezing the ball. We're just rounding back, pulling in the core. You're going to go down just very slightly. And lift it up. And let's do a few more here. So you're pulling in the abdominals. My toes might not touch the floor because I'm far apart here, so that's okay. You want to make sure that your heels are grounded and they're pulling back in towards your hips. And 1 more. And then back. And now we're going to push into your arms. You're going to hover your hips up very slightly here. You can either hold this position, keeping the core engaged, or you can start to do tiny bends of the elbows. Very tiny. Keeping the abdominals in, keeping your neck nice and long. Down and lift. And let's do 3 more. 2 more. And 1 more. And you're going to sit down through here, Bend the elbows very slightly, pulling in the core. You're shifting your weight backwards slightly. Do tiny squeezes on the ball. Very tiny squeezes. And bend it. And let's do a few more here. Really nice. And squeeze and hold. We're going to lower down an inch again, pushing up through your arms. We're kind of scooping. We're pressing back with the core, pushing up with the arms. Very tiny movements here. This is the last little bit. And one more. And let's open up the knees. Take a butterfly stretch. You can drop your head down. Stretch it out wherever you find. If you need a little bit more space here, this might be good to kind of stretch through here. And then we're going to end sitting on top of the ball to open up your hips slightly. So you're going to sit on top of the ball, taking your legs nice and wide. So we're going to take your hands back behind you. I want you to just rock your hips backwards. So you're pulling your chest forward here, and then we're coming back to center. So it's going to be a nice way to massage your glutes. Massage your pelvic floor, keeping the abdominals in here, and lift. So still making sure that you're grounding your hands onto the side so that you don't wobble off the ball. And one more. And then we're going to play around rocking from one side of the hip to the other. You're going to kind of stretch through here. You feel your hips stretch up a little bit. And stretch. Let's do one more on each side. And then let's come back to center. I want you to reach your hands forward. Let's take a little stretch here. If you can, drop your head down. We're going to play around with this movement. We're going to roll it up. Lifting up in the chest. I'm still at a very slight forward hinge, pulling the chin in, stretching the arms out, pulling the abdominals in here, lifting it up, and then rolling it out again. And let's do one more. And then let your head be the last piece. And you're all done. Those 30 minutes, beginner, prenatal, postnatal, diastasis, scoliosis friendly. I hope you feel really great. If anybody has any questions about this class, let me know. It was very detailed in terms of keeping your abdominals really nice and never allowing a chance for any sort of coning, any sort of opening up, or any stretching that might not feel comfortable if you're pregnant. So that was kind of the goal of this. Also not adding too many twists if you have a spinal fusion and you need to kind of keep your spine straight. You don't have as much mobility there. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Let me know also if you want to see a couple more of these pre-postnatal beginner series. Also, I'm going to do a tutorial tomorrow about kind of most common modifications, cueing, how to kind of get the most out of your movements, because really it's all about form. It should get harder with time. Every exercise should get harder and harder and harder. So if it feels really easy in the beginning, it'll start getting more challenging as you tap in very deeply inside of your body. So I love you all. Thank you for joining me. I hope you all feel great. All the moms out there, prenatal, postnatal, I hope you feel really good too. So I'll see you back tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.